Hello, explorers. Welcome back to another journey through the unknown. Around our planet, ancient civilizations left behind clues, objects so mysterious that even modern science struggles to explain them. Some seem to defy the laws of aerodynamics, others hint at forgotten technologies, and a few whisper stories that might not even belong to this Earth. Tonight, we're peeling back the layers of history to uncover secrets buried for thousands of years. So grab your curiosity, keep your mind open, and stay till the end, because what you're about to discover might just change how you see our ancient past forever. The Dropa Stones, mystery buried in the Tibetan mountains. High in the icy silence of the Bayan Karaula Mountains on the border of Tibet and China, an ancient secret was buried for thousands of years. The winds there howl endlessly, carving the cliffs, and even the locals avoid venturing too deep into those valleys. Yet, in 1938, a small team of Chinese archaeologists, led by Chi Pute, dared to enter a series of mysterious caves. They expected to find primitive artifacts or cave paintings, but instead, they stumbled upon something that defied logic. Inside the caves were hundreds of graves, arranged neatly in long rows. The bodies they found were shocking. Small skeletons, only about 4 feet tall, with oversized skulls and delicate, thin bones. They didn't look like ordinary humans. The team also noticed something strange on the cave walls, carvings of the sun, the moon, and countless tiny dots connected with lines, forming what looked like a star map. It was as if whoever lived there had some kind of astronomical knowledge far beyond their time. And then they discovered the objects that would make the site one of the most debated mysteries of all time: 716 circular stone discs, each about 30 centimeters wide and carved from a strange granite-like material. Each disc had a perfect hole in the center, just like a vinyl record. But what truly baffled them were the tiny spiral grooves carved along the surface, grooves that seemed to form an intricate pattern. When they examined the discs more closely, the archaeologists realized those spiral patterns weren't just random scratches. They were microscopic carvings of symbols, an ancient form of writing. But here's the catch. No known ancient culture used that script. It didn't match Chinese, Tibetan, or any known human language. It was completely alien in every sense. Years passed before anyone tried to translate the symbols. Most museums refused to take the discs seriously. Some even dismissed them as a hoax. But in the early 1960s, a Chinese researcher named Dr. Sum Nui managed to partially decode the inscriptions, and what he claimed to have found was unbelievable. According to his translation, the discs told the story of a people who came from a distant planet, their spaceship crash landing on Earth thousands of years ago. The beings called themselves the Dropa. They couldn't repair their craft and were forced to live among the tribes in the mountains. But because of their strange appearance, small bodies, big heads, the local tribes feared them and hunted them. Eventually, the Dropa integrated with the locals, and over generations, their descendants vanished into legend. It sounded like pure science fiction, yet there were physical discs sitting right there as proof. But the controversy didn't end. Many experts refused to believe the translation. They said the story was impossible, that no one had seen these discs after the 1970s, and that records of the original excavation were lost during political turmoil in China. Still, there were photos, a few rare black and white images that showed the discs lined up, each with a small central hole and spiral carvings. Some people who saw them said they gave off a faint metallic hum when placed under certain frequencies, as if they were once part of some advanced technology. Later reports claimed that a few of the discs were sent to Moscow for study. There, scientists allegedly discovered something even stranger: traces of cobalt and other rare metals embedded in the stone. When exposed to electrical charge, the discs vibrated slightly, as if they were storing or conducting energy. That's when the theory changed from archaeology to something far beyond. Perhaps these were not just ceremonial relics, but parts of an ancient information or energy storage device. But if that were true, who made them? Some believed the Drapa stones were a record left behind by an ancient civilization far more advanced than ours. Others connected it to the same unknown builders responsible for the pyramids or the Nazca lines, civilizations that may have had contact with beings from beyond Earth. Skeptics argued there was no solid proof, only rumors, lost research, and mysterious disappearances of evidence. Yet, the stories refused to die. Local Tibetan legends also speak of small, pale-skinned visitors from the sky who lived in the mountains after their heavenly chariot fell from the clouds. The locals describe them as wise but fragile, and after many years, their knowledge faded as they mixed with mountain tribes. Even more interesting, in 1995, explorers returning to the same region reported new cave openings revealed by landslides. Some claim to have seen similar discs half buried in the walls, but no official expedition ever confirmed it. It's as if something or someone wants this secret to remain buried. Today, the Drapa stones remain one of the most mysterious discoveries ever made. No museum openly displays them. The caves where they were found are now sealed off, and most official documents have vanished. But the legend still spreads in whispers among researchers and UFO enthusiasts. Could the Drapa stones be the final trace of an ancient extraterrestrial visit? Or were they simply misunderstood creations of an unknown culture that lived in isolation thousands of years ago? Whatever the truth is, those silent discs carved in the cold mountains of Tibet continue to challenge what we know about our history and who might have once walked among us. The Stone Spheres of Costa Rica, the lost code of the ancients. Deep in the lush rainforests of Costa Rica, hidden beneath layers of vines and centuries of soil, lie hundreds of stone spheres, perfectly round, impossibly smooth, and scattered as if placed by invisible hands. Some rest quietly in museum gardens, others still sleep beneath the earth, waiting for the day sunlight touches them again. These are the Diki Spheres, one of the most enduring archaeological enigmas ever discovered. The first of these mysterious stones were unearthed in the 1930s, when the United Fruit Company began clearing land for banana plantations in the Diki's Delta. As the bulldozers tore through the jungle, workers stumbled upon massive gray orbs rising from the soil. At first, they thought they had discovered buried treasure or sacred relics. They tried to crack them open with sledgehammers and dynamite, hoping gold might spill out. But inside, there was nothing, only solid stone. When word spread, archaeologists and scientists arrived, astonished by what they saw. Some of the spheres were as small as a baseball, others larger than a man. The biggest weighed more than 15 tons. Yet each one was almost perfectly spherical, with errors of less than 2 millimeters. And here was the true mystery. They had been made over 1,000 years ago, long before the region had metal tools or advanced measuring devices. How could an ancient civilization achieve such precision with nothing but stone tools? Who carved them? And most puzzling of all, why? The Dikis people, who once thrived in this region between 700 and 1500 CE, left no written records. Their cities vanished, their temples crumbled, and their language faded from memory. The only clues they left behind were these silent spheres scattered across the land like cosmic breadcrumbs. Some of the stones were found arranged in lines and geometric patterns, triangles, circles, even spirals, aligned with the sun's path or pointing toward distant mountains. Could they have been part of an astronomical calendar? Others suggest they marked the residences of powerful chiefs, symbols of status and authority. But there's something deeper here, something almost intentional in how they were placed, as if meant to communicate, not decorate. Let's pause for a moment and think about the effort involved. The stone used, granodiorite, is not found in the Diquís Delta. The nearest quarries are over 50 miles away, across rugged hills and dense forests. Imagine hauling a 15-ton boulder through that terrain, without wheels, without beasts of burden, using only wooden rollers, vines, and sheer human strength. Then imagine carving it, smoothing it, shaping it, until it becomes so perfectly round that even modern engineers have to stop and stare. To shape stone with such accuracy would require knowledge of geometry, balance, and measurement, almost beyond belief for that era. Some researchers believe the builders used molds or rotating scaffolds, turning the stone as they ground it evenly. But no tools or workshops have ever been found. Others think they may have used the stars as guides, rolling the spheres over time until they matched celestial motion. The spheres also carry no carvings or inscriptions, no hint of names, dates, or meaning, just pure form. It's as if their perfection is the message. Legends among the local people tell different stories. Some say the spheres were the work of the gods, who used them as weapons of thunder, hurling them from the heavens to destroy evil. Others claim they once contained magical liquids that gave eternal life, and when those who coveted immortality tried to open them, the power vanished. A few stories tell of the ancient Cherokee people who came from the stars, bringing with them the knowledge of shaping stone using fire and sound. To them, the spheres symbolized planets, the balance of the cosmos captured in stone. And this is where modern theories start to drift into the unknown. Some alternative researchers suggest the spheres are remnants of a global lost civilization, evidence that people thousands of years ago shared advanced knowledge of geometry and magnetism. The same geometry, they argue, seen in the pyramids of Egypt, the stonework of Peru, and even the megaliths of Easter Island. Could the Diquís spheres be another chapter in that forgotten global story? Satellite mapping has revealed something remarkable. When plotted together, the known sphere sites form lines that appear to align with the movements of the sun during solstices and equinoxes. Coincidence or deliberate design? Some even correspond with magnetic anomalies in the Earth below, leading a few scientists to wonder if the builders understood the Earth's natural energy fields. In 2014, UNESCO recognized the spheres as a World Heritage Site, calling them exceptional examples of the complexity of pre-Columbian societies. Yet, even with official study, their purpose remains elusive. Archaeologists have categorized them, measured them, dated them, but none can say with certainty why they exist. There's another layer of mystery. Many spheres were moved from their original locations, either by plantation workers decades ago or by collectors who took them to cities and museums. Some were rolled into rivers or lost entirely. Because of this, researchers may never know their original arrangements or the meaning those alignments once held. However, a few untouched sites still remain deep in the Diquís Delta, hidden under vegetation and earth. In those untouched clusters, archaeologists discovered that the spheres seem to have been placed with mathematical precision, forming triangles and straight lines that could mark astronomical events, territorial boundaries, or even star maps. One such site, Finca 6, revealed several spheres aligned perfectly toward the sunrise on the day of the equinox. On that day, the morning light touches each stone in sequence, as if igniting an ancient countdown. That can't be accidental. Someone understood the rhythm of the cosmos, and these spheres were their way of recording it. But what's even more extraordinary is their surface finish. Many are polished so smoothly that they reflect light. To achieve that on hard granite without metal tools would take enormous time, weeks or months per stone. Some researchers believe the process itself had spiritual significance, each sphere created as an offering, a representation of the balance between heaven and earth. Now, imagine an ancient ceremony. Dozens of people standing in a clearing at sunrise, the air filled with the scent of burning resin, drums echoing through the jungle. In the center, the newly finished sphere glows under the first light of day. It's not just an artifact. It's alive with purpose. To its creators, it might have represented the sun, the earth, or even the soul's journey after death. There's another intriguing aspect. Many of the spheres were intentionally buried in pairs or groups, sometimes under mounds or near old village centers. It's possible they were placed to guard sacred grounds or mark entrances to ceremonial paths. But over centuries, floods, vegetation, and colonization erased those contexts. What we find now are just fragments of what once might have been a vast spiritual network spanning the entire delta. Some modern engineers have tried to recreate the process. They use traditional stone carving methods with hammerstones and sand polishing. The results? After weeks of labor, they could barely achieve a rough sphere, nowhere near the precision of the ancient originals. That's when the question becomes unavoidable. What knowledge did these people possess that we don't? There's even speculation that the spheres were used as a form of geodetic system, a way to measure distances across the land. When plotted together, some sites seem to fall along geometric ratios similar to those used in sacred architecture elsewhere in the world. Could the Deikis have understood mathematics in ways history never recorded? In the 1970s, a few of the spheres were studied for magnetic properties. Some appeared to show faint polarization, as if magnetized during their creation. Though the results were inconclusive, it added one more piece to the puzzle. Were they merely decorative, or tools for something greater? Standing before them today, it's hard not to feel their silent power. Time has softened their surfaces, moss creeps along their sides, yet they remain unbroken, unyielding. They have survived earthquakes, floods, and centuries of oblivion. Still perfect, still mysterious. The people who made them are gone, their secrets buried with them. But their craftsmanship whispers a truth that transcends time, that there was once a civilization here capable of extraordinary things. Perhaps that's what the spheres truly represent. Not just mystery, but memory. The memory of a people who understood balance, symmetry, and harmony with the earth itself. And as the world modernizes, as jungles give way to cities, these ancient stones remind us of something we often forget, that perfection is not always born from machines. It can also come from hands guided by devotion, patience, and purpose. Every sphere is a story written in silence. And maybe, just maybe, if we listen long enough, they'll tell us who we really were before history began writing itself. The Saqqara bird, Egypt's ancient flying secret. In 1898, while excavating a tomb in the massive necropolis of Saqqara, Egypt, a team of archaeologists uncovered something that looked ordinary at first glance. A small, wooden carving covered in dust, roughly the size of a man's hand. It was tucked among papyrus fragments, Shabti figurines, and funeral artifacts. But when one of the archaeologists cleaned it, they noticed something strange. It didn't look like a bird statue. It looked like an airplane. That small 6-inch object would later become known as the Saqqara bird, and more than a century later, it remains one of the most debated and puzzling discoveries in Egyptian archaeology. At first, it was cataloged simply as a wooden bird. It was lightweight, aerodynamic, with wings slightly tilted upward and a body that curved into a tail fin. But it was missing something. No feet, no claws, no perch. It couldn't stand like a statue of a bird normally would, and on its tail, instead of the usual fan-like feathers, there was a vertical rudder, just like the tail of an aircraft. Decades later, when aeronautical engineers examined it, they noticed more details that couldn't be accidental. The wings weren't flat, they were curved to generate lift, just like modern planes. The body was perfectly balanced along the central axis. Even the placement of the tail matched the configuration of early gliders. The ancient Egyptians, it seemed, had carved something that obeyed the same aerodynamic principles we rediscovered only thousands of years later. But this carving was dated to around 200 BCE, more than 2,000 years before the Wright brothers' first flight. So how could that be possible? Was it coincidence, or had the ancient Egyptians known more about flight than we ever imagined? When the artifact was tested in the 1960s, a researcher named Dr. Khalil Messiha, an Egyptian physician and flight enthusiast, made a bold claim. He said the Saqqara bird wasn't just symbolic, it was a model of an ancient flying machine. He even called it the first aircraft. Dr. Messiha built a scaled-up version of the bird, added a small horizontal stabilizer to replace what might have been a broken tail section, and tested it in a wind tunnel. The result shocked everyone. The model actually flew. It glided through the air with remarkable stability. No wild spinning, no crashing. Just a smooth, balanced flight path, as if it was designed for it. Skeptics argued that the test proved nothing. They said the ancient Egyptians carved birds all the time, that this one just happened to look aerodynamic. But others pointed out that no other known Egyptian bird carving had such precise aerodynamic proportions. In fact, its shape matched not any known species of bird, but the design of modern sailplanes. So what if this wasn't a coincidence at all? What if the Saqqara bird was a clue, evidence that the ancient Egyptians understood the principles of flight long before modern civilization? We know the Egyptians were master engineers. They built pyramids that aligned perfectly with celestial constellations, temples with mathematical precision, and even complex water systems deep underground. But flight? That would change everything. Ancient texts and hieroglyphs often mention the boat of Ra, the sun god who sailed across the sky each day. Some researchers believe those myths weren't just spiritual metaphors. They could have been memories of real flying craft witnessed by early Egyptians, technology that later became mythologized as the gods' chariots of the heavens. Even stranger, other ancient cultures have similar stories. In India, the Vimanas were flying chariots described in texts thousands of years old. In Mesoamerica, carvings depict what appear to be pilots seated in capsules surrounded by flame-like exhaust. Could the Saqqara bird be Egypt's version of that same forgotten knowledge, a remnant of a global technology lost to time? Still, archaeologists remain divided. Mainstream scholars insist it's a toy, or perhaps a ceremonial object meant to represent the soul's flight in the afterlife. They point out that the artifact was found in a tomb, surrounded by funerary goods, so it could symbolize spiritual ascension. In ancient Egyptian beliefs, the soul, or Ba, was often depicted as a bird with a human head. So maybe it was a model to help the soul fly into the next world. But if that's true, why does it follow the exact rules of aerodynamics, something the Egyptians shouldn't have known? There's another layer of mystery too. The wood used to make the bird came from sycamore fig, a common material in ancient Egypt. But it's fragile and doesn't preserve well. That means there might have been many more such carvings that simply disintegrated over time. If the Saqqara bird survived by chance, it could be the last remnant of an entire collection. or even of an experimental project lost in the sands of history. Some researchers have even speculated about ancient gliders or lightweight flight experiments that used papyrus reeds or linen stretched over wooden frames. In an age when Egyptian engineers already mastered water transport, geometry, and mechanics, experimenting with air travel might not have been as impossible as we assume. Then there's the deeper question: where did the idea come from? The Egyptians recorded everything, from construction methods to rituals, yet no inscription mentions flight. Some suggest the knowledge came from an older civilization that existed before Egypt's recorded history. Legends of Atlantis, or the mysterious Zep Tepi, the first time when gods ruled the earth, speak of beings who descended from the sky and taught early humans science, astronomy, and architecture. Maybe, just maybe, they also taught them the secrets of flight. Others take a more scientific approach. They argue that the design might have been inspired by observing birds of prey like hawks and falcons gliding effortlessly over the Nile. Ancient artisans, known for their attention to nature, could have carved what they saw, not realizing they were mirroring aerodynamic principles that modern physics would later define. Either way, the Saqqara bird refuses to fit neatly into any box. It sits quietly today in the Cairo Museum, displayed in a small glass case. Thousands of tourists walk past it every year, often without realizing that they're looking at one of history's most intriguing anomalies. A 2,000-year-old relic that might hold evidence of forgotten technology. What makes the mystery stronger is what's missing. There are no similar models, no ancient blueprints, no hieroglyphs explaining its purpose. Just this one single piece of wood, perfectly balanced, shaped like a modern aircraft, and found in one of the oldest tombs on Earth. Even modern engineers who've studied it admit, if someone gave me this design and told me it came from a few centuries ago, I'd believe it. But from 200 BCE? Impossible. So what do we do with that kind of impossibility? Do we dismiss it as coincidence? Or accept that our ancestors may have been far more advanced than we think? If we line up all these anomalies, the pyramid's precision, the Baghdad battery, the Antikythera mechanism, and now the Saqqara bird, a strange pattern emerges. Civilizations thousands of miles apart, separated by oceans and centuries, all showing glimpses of technology far ahead of their time. Were they all independently experimenting with science? Or inheriting lost knowledge from a single source? The Saqqara bird seems to whisper an unspoken truth. Something was happening in the ancient world, something that doesn't fit in our textbooks, something that suggests the story of human innovation might stretch much further back than we ever dared to imagine. Maybe this little wooden figure isn't just a toy, not just art, not just a symbol. Maybe it's a survivor, a surviving memory of the skies. And perhaps the reason we can't explain it is simple. We're not looking at the past through the same eyes as those who lived it. They might have seen the heavens not as myth, but as a challenge, a frontier they once reached and then lost to time. Today, it sits quietly in its glass case, watching us from behind its reflection, the carved wings of something that once might have soared over the sands of Egypt. And every time someone stops and stares, that little wooden bird asks the same silent question: what if we were never the first to fly? So explorers, after seeing these mind-bending discoveries, what do you think? Were these objects simply misunderstood artifacts, or evidence that our ancestors knew far more than we give them credit for? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading your theories. And if you enjoy diving into these mysteries, make sure to like the video, share it with your fellow explorers, and subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the unknown. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the past still hides secrets waiting to be uncovered.